Access grant registration demonstration. So to start, we will log in as an admin user. This is predominantly how Magnify Access would log in, and here they would be able to approve and disapprove organizations. So this mitigates organizations being flooded into the platform or creating unnecessary grants by fake organizations, as well as a user list to remove any unwanted users. And this essentially gives the user total functionality, total control over the platform. Here we can see that Joe is unapproved and Sarah is approved, and let's just take a look of how that looks on if we try to log in as these users. So as Joe, we can see how logging in arrives us to the wait for approval page, and only once an admin approves them, they can continue working through the platform. Whereas for Sarah, she was able to access the platform entirely and all its features. So by default, we have them unapproved, and an admin would have to approve them. So as a grantor, your main functionality is to create grants and accept applicants and whatnot. So if we take a look at some previous grants we've created, we can see that this grant has closed, and we have approved James and rejected another user. Here we can also view their submission details and see what they selected, as well as provide them with any feedback. Here, for example, let's type in again next year, and we'll see how that appears on the user's side. Say love. All right. Now we can also search through applicants if we have a large list of applicants, and if needed, send them direct messages, which brings us to our next feature, chatting. In our chat, we can message applicants if they need it, whenever they contact us and whenever they need help, just to enforce an easy way to communicate with applicants. So we will just send some messages and see how they look when we log in as an applicant. Moving on, let's try and look at some grants that are not finished or closed yet. So we can see how James has applied to this grant. We can look at his responses and provide him feedback. Let's say great job. And let's approve him. So this approve button approves it on the grantor side, but does not notify James until we confirm the status of applicants, as we can still reject James if we had changed our mind. So suppose we approved James and hit confirmed status of applicants. Now James has been approved and the grant has been closed, and now no one can apply to this grant again. Let's try creating a new grant. We have basic error checking to make sure dates are valid, and for example, end date is not before start date and whatnot. Here, let's add a short answer question and limit the text to only, let's say, 10 characters. We can also add some multiple choice questions and make it allow for multiple selections as well. But this time, let's just take a look at it without multiple selections. Finally, we can add deliverables, which are just tasks that the winner of this grant must do once they receive the grant money. Perfect, let's create that, and now we can see our grant has been created, and we can view our details and whatnot. That is the overall functionality for a grantor, and now we can move on to a grantee or an applicant. if we go to James's account, we can see how we have been approved for 2 grants, and we can look at our table and see how we have just been recently approved for new grant 2, which we just demonstrated. Clicking this will show us our feedback from our granting body and our application submission as well. They also have the opportunity to message the granting body as well if they wanted to. Let's go back to viewing all the possible grants. We can also see that grant 2 that James received is not available to apply anymore because that grant has been finished. So let's try applying to a new grant, grant 3. We can see that trying to type longer than 10 characters does not work. And let's select one option as we can't select multiple. And if we continue, our grant applied increments, and we can sort based on these different columns to see, for example, our most recent grant we applied to and whatnot. So after applying to a grant, as an applicant, you would just at this point wait until your grant has been approved. So moving on, we've demonstrated the chat feature as well. This is very similar on the grantor side, where you can chat with different granting bodies to ask for any help. Finally, let's take a look at some accessibility features that we've added. The first one being our color schemes. So dark mode creates a darker background with more blues and grays. This just makes it easier on the eyes and another variation of color for those who may be colorblind. In addition, if we go back to accessibility and go to high contrast mode, this further enhances experience as the neon green helps users be able to see the text better, as we can see here. Finally, we have language selection, where those who may not be able to read or write in English can choose a different language and navigate through the entire website accordingly. As we can see, everything has been translated. And let's go back to English. Finally, we are able to use the tab button on our keyboard to navigate our website as well. So clicking tab, we can see main being highlighted. We can click enter to open and close it, navigate into our options. Let's go into maybe grants, open that up, open settings up, and we can see how, oh, I went to log out. Let's try logging back in. So overall, this tab feature just allows users who have difficulty with the mouse to navigate through the website. For example, going on different sorting attributes and whatnot, changing the rows per page, and so on and so forth. Finally, let's just demonstrate the rejection of the grant that user just applied to. Going in, we can see how in our new grant, James has applied, and we can hit reject and confirm the status of our applicants. Now, once James logs in, he would be able to see that he has been rejected. Oh, there's a space. There we go. We can see that we have one rejection, and if we scroll down, we can see that we have been rejected with no feedback. So this is our application, and I hope you enjoyed.